evening, everybody.
Good evening, everyone.
So this is the fourth round of LWC. We're gonna talk about Art Brussels and other fairs. Today is an open session, and
So the door.
You mean the door is open?
The door is completely open. The window as well.
No, but did you went?
So I can leave any time.
Did you went to this off fair proposition? You went to see it?
No.
We were showing something with Rosa Brooks there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't told you.
You told me, but I forget.
Yeah.
And was it good?
But actually, it was in Dexia.
So was a book showed on?
Yeah, but
Art
you
Brussels?
you can apply for this if
Okay.
you're a gallery or an off space.
Okay.
And
Wow, that's cool. I mean.
yeah, but you have to pay for it. So
Oh,
it's okay.
how
I
many
guess
do
they
you have to
didn't
pay for it? That's
to-
interesting.
Okay, now we.
200 euros.
You have to pay 200 euro.
Yeah, but most of the people.
200 euros?
200 euro.
Wow,
But most
that's
of the
a lot, that's a
people
lot.
have stuff that they can sell, like photos and stuff. We were the only one who couldn't sell that stuff because it was a installation performance.
Mhm.
It was quite. Actually, it was one of the. I would say the best or one of the best.
So actually, you can make some wins during the Art Brussels.
Some.
You could make some wins. You
Some
pay
profit.
Yeah, some profit.
sure,
so you
sure.
pay 200 euros and then.
Yeah, and then you can. I guess this the organization takes 15%,
Mhm.
and then the gallery also. Okay,
Mhm.
but yeah, you can, and they really push you to sell stuff. But we were the only one who couldn't sell anything
Mhm.
because it was an installation with chairs and tables.
Mhm.
But they all come from Head School in
Mhm.
Geneva, so we couldn't sell them.
Mhm.
And the idea was that they took up all the screws and all the stuff, so the chairs were always. It was a conference
Okay.
setting,
Mhm.
and they were falling all the time. There were two
Mhm.
guys they were rebuilding all the
So
chairs.
people were really sitting on the chairs and then
But
they broke
people
down.
didn't
the
knew
chairs.
like if you just
Okay, just
take
if you moved it.
tack, everybody
Okay,
was
fine.
falling,
Okay.
and then in the building was quite nice because the sound was really like
Mhm.
as it's an old bank gallery actually,
Mhm.
and the
Yeah, the
bank
Dexia.
Mhm.
fell. It was really like how unstable can it
Oh,
be.
yeah, okay.
It was quite good. Mm.
How does it actually work? Like a gallery can sell during the Art Brussels?
But in
I mean, like you could really say, okay, like if a collector comes and say, okay, like I like this work.
there were a lot
then
of
you can
things.
make,
Almost
like
everything
it's a-
was for sale in this stuff. You
Mhm.
had a lot of photos, videos, but I don't really know if. But yeah, you can sell video
Mhm.
anyway. But I had a talk with a girl who's in something called Les Commissaires Anonymes, and she said that they already applied last year, and then the organization was really like, yeah, but you should really. They were really they had a programmation, and they said, but what are you gonna sell then? And they were like, we're thinking of selling
Mhm,
anything.
mhm.
They were like, yeah, it's super good to sell. You should really think like this, and then because also they got a
Mhm.
commission on it.
Mhm.
But it's funny because I read now an article in this Hart
Mhm.
magazine that they say like, yeah, the director or curator of it says like, yeah, we are super happy about this side project to Art Brussels
Mhm.
because and our message is we are non-commercial. You cannot sell anything here.
Mhm.
Art
You
Brussels.
cannot
Mhm, mhm.
buy anything here or
Mhm,
something.
mhm.
It's a sort of there's a sort of silent critique.
Yeah, back to the roots, like back to non-commercial. How do you say?
But
habits.
that's commercial.
But I think like for me, it pretty much appears like the same. What happens with all these off spaces nowadays is it's kind of it's welcome because it gives the whole I say the whole not industry but the whole environment some certain positive attitude back.
Mm.
You know, like, but at the very end, like, it's a very commercial thing that happens, and everybody wants to sell, and that doesn't change anything of the
No,
mechanisms.
completely,
But it's
yeah,
just like
completely.
Brussels is now not just commercial galleries, but it's also off spaces.
Yeah, but
so
for
there
the-
is something
yeah, but they push
alternative
this
happen.
off space to
Yeah.
have pieces they can sell. So it's a
Mhm.
bit like
Yeah, it's.
I don't know how many people
Hypocrites or
really
something.
sold stuff, but that's another question because we were really not into selling. But
But what was your impression of the art fair?
I wasn't there.
it was quite.
But actually, like an art fair is always just those stuff which you can sell. I mean, for example, I've never been there, but the Art Basel, which is the biggest one in the world, this is also to sell, but it's a different dimension. But it's always, I say, presented in a way, and this is like typical for the Art Brussels, for example. You can like put it in your living room, you can put it on the couch or whatever. So this is not meant to be like installation art. This is not meant to be super crazy in situ works or stuff. So whatever is shown there is actually it's a fair, you know, like it's like it's just meant to be this. So that does not mean that the gallery who is showing the works there or exhibiting is just showing this work. So, but they just take pieces with them which fit to the booth, which have got the right size, which are commercially interested and stuff like this. Yeah. But usually, like for example, the bigger galleries, they change. Sometimes they've got exhibitions with artists that make like huge installations, which you of course could sell, but just to a big collector or for a museum. But they also do shows which are more interesting to sell. You know, like for example, you've got more freaky artists or younger ones. They don't sell that good. And you've got other more established artists like Balesari or whatever, and those ones you can sell. So it's always to find the combination of like what's commercially really working, what's commercially not working. But I don't know, from the level of works, I think like you've got two halls. So you've got like the newcomer hall, which is not really the newcomers, but the less established galleries. And the more established ones, and another one, and you can really see the difference of quality, I guess, to my opinion. Yeah. And what I was a little bit missing is, if you say it's a newcomer gallery and they could actually take a little more risk, they can do more freaky stuff, they're not so established on the market yet, you don't see it there. It was very modest, I guess.
Yeah. Or you?
I didn't see any... or even if they try to, I mean, like it's very difficult because you have the booth, which is 5 on 5 or like 5 on 10 meters, and that's your limit. So inside this limitation, of course, what can you do? I mean, like there was this one caravan, which was quite interesting. So they put a caravan in the booth, and like you walk upstairs, and there was kind of an installation, and this looked quite interesting. Even we haven't even been there, even been in there, but I think in general it's more like things you can put on the wall.
But you went there more than 2 years already, because I read an article that as well today about that it's now 2 years that it's Katrina Gregos, and they all say all the galleries as well. Like I don't know on which level it's true, but that she really made a shift into this. Can you see this, like if you have the two last editions with editions before that she changed something into this? I
haven't seen it and I didn't even know it. But I think those changes might be, for example, then the off spaces, or like that they have kind of an off area where other things can happen, or that it's structurally a little bit changing. But at the very end, in the presentation of the gallery, Greta Meert will stay Greta Meert, and Baroni will stay Baroni, and so there won't be any change. But this is not the influence of the...
No, but I think they wrote about there's the cinema now and the stage, like this... The cinema where you can see video works, and then the stage where they have talks. I don't know. It's in the program, several.
I think all these things are quite interesting, like alternatives to just the classical presentation of the galleries. But at the very end, it stays. The galleries are super dominant. I mean, like.
But like all these ideas, like young, prime, solo. Was this already before there? Is this? I
can just remember last year. So. And the year before, I haven't
last year, of course.
The last year, of course, it was her. I don't know.
But
what is she doing exactly? Is Katarina Gregos?
I think she's making the selection. Who's
of the gallery?
Of the galleries, I guess. Like, and then like what you
like
says,
conceptual. She talks about it here. Did you go to these talks like Art in the Age of Cognitive Capitalism?
No.
It sounds really fucking interesting. It does.
But I think like for example, okay, we went there for like a couple of hours, but if you like I say, there's a lot of things happening during the art fair, around the art fair, and I think like what Gregos does might be much bigger than just selecting the galleries.
I guess.
Yeah. She's the artistic director.
But like, I don't know.
From the qualities of the work, I don't know. But how did you perceive it? Like,
more as a show than really. I mean, it was really.
But did you see good works or like?
No, not really. Or stuff that I already. But I no, not really. But it's also. It was also crowded, so it's not really a good way also to really look at the stuff. You're also so looking at people and.
I think it's
so
it's Steen.
yeah, I don't know.
It's a waitress.
It's a waitress. Hey.
Zeker voor de ezels? Nee?
Nee.
Ah nee, oké.
Discussiëren over kunst.
Ah oké, zo mag.
So yeah, I didn't really saw so much good work. Let's say. Or stuff that I liked, but I was not like discovering amazing stuff. But also because I think it's not a good.
But for me,
way of
actually, it feels
stuff.
always like a very double because on the one hand, I miss like a concentrated atmosphere to look to a piece, but on the other hand, I think like if a piece is really strong, it should be able to resist
then in
all
a way
this
it's
disturbance.
good because then if you see
You know, because in the gallery you
quite
could
good
put
stuff.
anything
Yeah,
and it will
sure.
work all the time. If it's a white cube, whatever you put, it works. But doing like, for example, I saw the one piece of Baldassare, and okay, I like the gallery, so maybe even my pre-perspective is then different. But still, I guess it's such a strong work that it really sticks out of like all the massa. Whenever I see it, I say, wow, okay, of course it's an artist you also know, and then you say, okay, it's a Baldassare, and then you go closer. But still, it's a very high quality, I guess.
But what I think
I
a bit,
agree.
what I have a bit in general impression with this Art Brussels or with art fairs, I mean, didn't went to so many, so I just speak from the perspective of Art Brussels, is that they should adapt, like galleries should adapt their work towards the fairs, like what it is. I mean, it is a lot of people, it is a lot of happening atmosphere, and the problem is a bit like sometimes you see in some galleries they want to do something, they want to punch you, but it's like I don't know, it's not like a really well thought idea of a punch, and that is a bit a pity. I think it should be. They should really think like, okay, it is like it is. It's an art fair. We have to sell stuff. But I think as well, if you want to put up a good image about your, and of course for young galleries more important than for established ones, but if you want to put a good image of your gallery, then you should think, how can I adapt to this sort of sociological, crowded atmosphere of. It's like going to a football game, but then an elite football game. So how can you
But I think
do
this
that in a way?
is
How
the
can
point
you?
you make. Like, you've got two choices. The one is the first is you make something totally different, but this is usually commercially not interesting, or at least not on the Brussels Art Fair, I guess, at least, because maybe it would be interesting on Art Basel or something when really like museums or whatever come, and you could show like a huge installation of whoever else it is. But on the Art Brussels, it's pretty small scale, and so this is like really intentionally meant for like collectors, private person, and stuff like this. So if you go wild, then you don't sell, or you sell this is the way it is, and then you make small pieces. And small pieces usually hardly punch because they're commercially.
But I have another idea about it, because I think if I would be a young gallery, then I would take, because Brussels is now, let's say Brussels is upcoming city in art world. You see a lot of galleries coming from London or even from other places in Europe,
especially from Belgium with Antwerp and stuff.
Yeah, but I mean coming to Brussels as like this is the new sort of the new city for a gallery. If I would then be a gallery, a young gallery, then I would maybe more use this art fair as like, look, here we are. Maybe then you sell not so much, but like and then maybe use maybe go for this, what you said, like the things that could happen on Art Brussels. Art Basel. Maybe go for this kind of spectacular one installation that is maybe not the best economical decision.
So you
That
think,
is-
you think like it's more interesting to make yourself a name
Yeah,
somehow instead of like selling 5 pieces?
because
or
I
like,
think I wrote something. I had an idea, like there was a young gallery from Amsterdam that was for the first time in Art Brussels, and they said like, yeah, we choose for one painter because we want to attract. It's we choose for the solo because it's sort of a more tells more what we are in a way. I don't know. I don't remember this particular gallery, but what I want to say is like, I think actually economically it's even better to have to impress on the moment and not sell, because I think what happens after Art Brussels,
You've got a delay
like
effect,
which
yeah.
contacts you make during Art Brussels, if you're like, whoa, this gallery was like choose for something even not so commercial in the sense like, okay, it's a commercial event, but in the sense like one installation is not such a smart idea,
Yeah.
commercially
Not at
wise
all.
on
Yeah.
the moment
Yeah.
itself, but maybe afterwards is a really good decision.
I think so
Maybe
too.
then.
But I think like, okay, there's two problems which occurs then is usually they want to show like a cut through the program. So they say, okay, like we've got artist B, C, and F, whatever, and this is like our portfolio. So this is all interesting, and the one collector like this, the other one like this. So it's like exactly the opposite of like what you propose. And the second is the quality of the young artists. I mean, like if you're a young gallery and you say, okay, come on, we make it really wild right now, then you really need a really good artist who's able to do this. So, and then you have like, I mean, if you look to the contemporary, okay, of course there is a lot of good artists out there, but those new galleries are like, there was like a gallery from New York, for example, like, it's in Brussels and New York. I've just
Well, maybe you
forgotten
can look it up if you
Yeah.
want.
the C something.
Easter, no?
No, something with a C. Okay, I gotta.
Because there is
You
Or
gotta
maybe
remember.
it comes later.
Yeah, I can see it. Okay, but anyway, but this gallery, for example, it's new, so there would have been the chance, like, really to go out of the box. But the quality of the art, it wasn't bad at all, but it wasn't that good. I mean, and I think it would be really difficult then to say,
but
okay,
I don't think it's a problem about bad artists nowadays. I think it's more the problem about, of course, there are more artists, let's say, and it's a problem about the selection then itself from the one that chooses to put that work in his boot, let's say.
Because how do you define this quality you're missing? This quality of art. What is that you missed?
Do you mean the quality in general?
Yeah, I mean, what?
A good piece, a strong piece is a strong piece. I mean, like, now do you want me to explain what a strong piece is?
No, I don't know. But I'm just curious because you say this was missing there, but I'm thinking.
No, I think
No, but it's
you've got a lot of strong pieces. But for example, there's Thomas Schütte. I think he's a really interesting and good artist. And of course, like he was one of the big galleries then, and it was a beautiful piece. It was a beautiful work. But like the young, like from the young galleries, honestly, I now can't really remember a piece which really punched me or like which stick in my mind. There was one piece, but it just kept stick in my mind because I'm working in the same direction. And they say, oh, okay, there's somebody working with the same stuff, but it wasn't necessarily really good, and I don't know.
But is the art fair for artists? Like, who's the audience of the art fair?
That's a good
No,
question.
yeah.
Is it for the artist to go there and compare himself to the other artists, or is it like for
I
the
guess
non-artists
You have
to?
a lot of different people coming by,
Yeah,
but
but that's what I'm.
yeah, no, it's true. But I guess it's mostly
It's like film festivals. I
Yeah.
stopped going because I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, there's a lot of.
well, like,
it's-
But it is
yeah,
actually
it's
like
it's
you
a bit
say,
like a big
yeah.
film festival.
Mhm.
Actually,
it just
yeah.
gets
It's a bit
kids
the
off.
same,
in
yeah.
But it is like you say, like a lot of
Right.
artists just completely split it. They don't go there. They just do their work and they don't look. But I don't know. For me, it's interesting because I think it gives you a certain to some extent, of course, because there's lacks and there's like you've got like limitations, whatever it is. But it gives you at least some certain idea, like what's obviously commercially interesting, what's out there, how galleries present and stuff. And I think it's, and this is all what it's about. At the very end, like you end up as a fine artist, or there's one of the possibilities that you end up in a gallery. So and then you get a certain idea how galleries work,
Yeah.
how they present, what their focus. You know, is it more like is it very conservative? Is it like
It's a
avant-garde,
good way to
whatever?
know a bit more about different galleries as well, no? Or no?
As well, yeah.
But it tells something about galleries in the sense that not if they then also maybe they can be good, let's say, apart from this Brussels Art Fair, but what decision do they make then in the art fair itself? Do they
It's a kind of showcasing, right?
showcasing? Yeah,
Like
but
they have X collection and they bring a few of that collection. So why they make those choices?
But honestly, I'm always wondering what they actually do it for. But it's just pure speculation because like the artist himself is he's already at a gallery or he's not at a gallery. So, but in both matters, he's not interesting for the gallery. And the other thing is the collectors the gallery already has. So I mean, like for me, it always looks like a meet and greet. So
I think
at
it's
least
more,
at the opening. So I've been there like 3 years after each other doing it at the opening, and then they meet each other and say, it's so nice to see you, and they have a champagne and blah blah. But it doesn't seem like there's something new or like a new collector coming. Okay, look at this, look to this work. Or that. It's a. I mean, when you're a gallerist, you've got your collectors, and you say, "Hey, there's a show going on of Koen van den Broek. Don't you want to come around?" Or this. Usually they're sold before the show starts.
I think it's maybe also more the connections a gallery makes with another gallery. I mean, if you're like on such a small square meters, let's say the Expo in Brussels, it's 2 halls which are not so in the end not so big, and you put 100 almost 200 galleries together. Maybe that is also the sort of I don't know, is there they make connections maybe as well between each other. They maybe exchange contacts of
It's
collectors
networking.
that could be interested, like, you have this artist in your gallery, maybe this collector could be interested in that artist, particular artist. I think it's more maybe it's more related to that. I mean, it's also guessing now what I'm doing.
But what
now.
did like Rosa Books people tell? I mean, like how did they perceive
They
it? Like,
didn't went to Art Brussels.
okay, but who installed it and like?
No, but it was not in Art
It was
Brussels.
not in Art
It's
Brussels,
in
it
the
was in
Dexia
Dexia.
art building next
It's
to Nova.
off. It's
really
another.
not.
It's not.
I thought
It's
like
in the
it's
same
in-
moment.
It's in there,
no,
but
no,
like then
no.
a little
Otherwise, I
off
would have showed
located.
you directly in
It's
the
mentioned
building.
here.
Okay. But
It's
they call like
it's called
an off.
Proposition,
Okay.
and it's completely off. But it's in the same moment. It's a bit like for this off space to have their own fair. Let's say. But I was thinking this guy that.
And
this
was
guy-
there like a lot of visitors? Like,
Not, but when I was there, not so much. But then they said I was there on a Friday, so okay, it's a working day. Not so-
and John was also there. Or?
But there were not so much there. That's a bit a pity because they had to go to Berlin to take some piece of an artist for another exhibition they do in Geneva. So it was a bit stupid for them because it was a good way to promote Rosa Books and also to promote their work because it was their installation. And people really quite liked it in general. So they were a bit like, can we talk to the artist? And they were not really there. It was a bit stupid for them. But there were some people. There was some, but it's a bit how they organized it was a bit like it was super bad organized. I have to say, really. And
I'm reading the official version.
okay, I was
Fine.
super mad. They made a Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, and they were like, we need the money, otherwise we don't do the project. Like 2 days before the stuff, we were like, if you're not doing the project, we're gonna kill you because you're not gonna do the thing because you don't have money. We're there, we have the stuff, and then we paid for it, and you say like, oh no, we don't have money. So I really don't know why they ask for this money. All the people that worked, and most of the people that worked there was stagiaires, they were not paid. And they were organizing parties and stuff, and we were like, how can you organize parties in a place where there are also art piece? I was not there, I was on Friday when there was also the performance. So I don't know how it was, but till 11 you could go in the floor, so you could see the I don't know.
But where is it? The Dexia building?
It's in front of Nova. It is big. It's also for
okay,
Kunst
where the
Festival.
other show was once.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the whole building was full of chairs?
No, just no.
Because it's super
there was
huge,
just
I mean, like, it's amazing.
There were
the
several
rez-de-chaussée
artists.
and
Yeah.
the first floor, and then there was several galleries. I guess 20 or 20 galleries, I think, 20
Off spaces.
off spaces.
Okay.
So we had like, I don't know, quite some space, but not so much.
And what do you think about the other like off spaces? What did they present? Did you think
But there was,
interesting
it looked
or-
more like, but I have to say the good thing about what they presented, Jeanne and
Mhm.
Nicolas, it was really connected to the space, that
Mhm.
it was really, they really thought like, it's a piece that they already made, but it
Mhm.
was really fitting
Mhm.
to the space.
Mhm.
For the other galleries, I thought it was a bit too art
Mhm.
fair style, like they
Mhm.
were really
Mhm.
selling stuff and like photos, and it was nice. I mean, some stuff were interesting, some were not.
Mhm.
But the way they did it was
Mhm.
really like in
But
order.
even there, nobody went wild, or like
No, it was super
yeah.
sage. So I was a bit like, yeah, it's stupid
Because,
because,
like,
you
it's-
shouldn't think of selling
Yeah.
stuff. And then there was really, but we really took it like when we saw the appel à projet, we really like, oh, it's a good opportunity for Jeanne and Nicolas because they really work in this kind of spaces.
Mhm.
And then we were like, we should really present something. So they proposed this piece that they already presented somewhere. And I guess, and I know we were the only one who really
Mhm.
thought of the building.
Make it a little in situ
Yeah,
or something.
like really in situ,
Mhm.
because I thought it was really.
Mhm.
Because also on the website you have a sentence from
Mhm.
Walter Benjamin about banks and
Mhm.
Bankroet and all that. So
Yeah.
we thought like everybody's
Yeah.
gonna do something with
Mhm.
it, but
Mhm.
no,
No,
actually.
yeah.
There were pictures, photos of cactus and stuff. It was really, you could present what you want.
Mhm.
I know people who didn't got selected. I was thought strange. I thought they would really select everybody
Mhm.
because you have to pay for it. So I thought they were
Mhm.
they would keep the
Mhm.
money. So I really don't know what they presented
Mhm.
that they didn't like. I guess because it was not too.
But you had like
fancy.
unlimited space, or like,
Yeah.
or everybody had like certain square meters.
You had certain square.
And was there
meters.
like technical limitations and like security limitations?
But no,
for
because
example,
our stuff was super dangerous. I mean, and we asked like,
yeah,
do
very
you have
much
an
sounds like,
insurance?
because like if somebody sits on
Yeah,
the chair
sure,
and
but
then somebody
people
falls and
sat,
breaks his
yeah,
arm,
people
like
sat on
whatever
the
happens.
chair and they were, because they asked him before, like Jeanne, like, do you have an insurance? No, we don't have. We're like, okay, but we're gonna do the piece
And also you
anyway.
exhibited chairs that when you sit down and break.
Yeah,
Yeah, all the
Like
screws were
in
taken out.
cinema.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a cinema. How do you say technique too? Like when if you take off all the screw from a chair, and like
Okay.
Ah,
a
this
saloon
is
or
like how
something.
when they
Yeah.
slam a
Yeah,
chair
yeah,
over
they got
over
the
back.
idea while looking at. It's
Ah.
also
It's
comes
from
from a
cinema.
painting
Okay,
of.
but I
of
didn't know.
Bosch.
I always
Bud
understand how they do it.
Yeah,
it's
but
just
it's
like-
super easy actually.
yeah.
We did it.
But
Good.
And
Buster as well, I guess.
what did you ask? Yeah, so then you didn't have any. We were the only problematic
Mhm.
things, I guess,
Mhm.
but they were really
but
not.
how was it?
But it's interesting that none of the other ones even thinks about like
No.
to do something out of the box or whatever.
But
At the very
how-
end,
but
they show
super
like
sad.
But in the end,
Yeah,
how is it presented? Let's say every off space, how he got his place. I mean, if you compare it to Art Brussels, which of course is a
But
vast
you
structure.
don't have this box, for example. It's an open space.
Yeah. But how do they? You have a line in between.
No,
the
you
stuff?
don't have a line in between, but some.
But the building itself, like how you say, like
Divides.
But
divides it a
yeah,
little bit,
in a way, yeah. But also, but for us, we were super close to the entrance of the first floor. So you come and you had directly the chairs and stuff. There was another gallery that had a kind of a wooden wave, so it created the
like a
separation. But you had quite some space in between the stuff, because
Yeah.
also because people were mostly presenting stuff on the walls.
Mhm.
So it was really.
There were not walls that were put it.
No.
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 Okay.
Stuff on the walls, huh?
Yeah, it was really.
like yeah.
But you had quite.
It's
in the-
fascinating, isn't it? Like really, art is something for the wall. I don't know. It's a sculpture. Or it's for the wall.
For the living
Yeah,
room.
okay.
Huh? It's for the
But you had also downstairs. You had about
But there's a nice
these two
artist,
girls.
Louise Lawler. Like she made a project. It was actually called Adjusted. Okay, but that was different, and but she took photographs of famous artworks. Actually, ended up by the collectors. So, for example, like Donald Judd or something, or there was Jasper Jones, like the American flag, and then it was just over the couch in the living room. And really, when you see this, it's like what the fuck. Because like afterwards, like after the Art Brussels, a day later, we went to it's called a walking dinner. So it's a collector who was
Well, it's
was
not really a
supposed to-
walking dinner.
Huh?
It was not
Was it-
walking. Why do you call
He
it
didn't
walking?
walk.
I thought we
Because,
had to
like
walk.
you don't sit. I mean, like you can take the stuff and
but
you
it's
walk
like
around.
it's a
and-
buffet, then it's not
It's a
walking.
buffet. It's
Yeah, a walking dinner is more like.
I thought
Swedish table.
I thought walking dinner would be you have an aperitif in one space and you go. I thought there
Pub
was.
crawling.
It's
Would
like
be
a
a
really
real
like
walking.
event dinner.
Yeah, I thought
okay.
Walking. No, walking dinner is mostly
As
around
many
tables.
courses as spaces. or
Yeah,
rooms,
would be
yes,
super
yeah.
nice actually.
But it was a lot to just one course.
But actually, this guy that was
Supposed to come tonight.
yeah, he's
Tobias.
also the guy that was hosting this walking dinner.
Yeah.
For example, does he go to Art Brussels? How does he? Do you know a bit?
Yeah,
How-
of course he does. Like, because like he's really collecting, so
Mm.
all of his flat is like covered, like all the walls are covered with works and sculptures and blah.
There you go. There you go.
Mm.
No, but then we also said like, okay, this is where your work ends. At least that's one opportunity. The other one is like you come to a museum or like a public collection, whatever. But the other one, the private way, is okay. It's you make a huge space and you come to a rich collector and then you get
But
the
then
private.
you're thinking
Oh,
that
you're
art needs
wrong,
to
huh?
be political.
Hmm?
Are you saying that art needs to be political?
No, but I mean like.
Because
Okay,
political
not-
doesn't end
not
up in the
at-
living room,
okay,
I hope.
but not
Right.
at all. Like the format is not what makes a piece political. I mean, it doesn't mean like it's a political statement if you put it out of the frame and say, okay, I'm totally unconventional. I think this is at
I
least
think a political work
totally
can
unpolitical.
end in a living room.
Yeah.
I think.
Pardon me?
I think it can end in a living room.
Of course.
Of
Of course,
course,
you can
it's
make a
sold.
political
I mean,
work,
if
and
it's
like
a-
then you end up like, of course, like the Jasper Jones is also a political work, and it ended up on the couch. I mean, like it's quite a, that's reality, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't has to say anything to the collector, or that it doesn't. It's not an you say important. It's still an important piece, but this is just where it ends. No?
But for example, that guy. So he goes to the Art Brussels and he.
Yeah, of course.
He has a job as well, or he's just collecting?
No. I don't know what kind of job he
Yeah,
has, but he's
but
like
he-
he's
okay,
working
okay.
and he's collecting. Yeah.
And like he
And
goes
always
there and he
goes
buys
because
stuff
a
there,
lot
or
of his
he.
artists he collects. He collects from like, or the galleries are at Art Brussels, Art
Okay.
Cologne and stuff.
Okay, but then he goes there and he make a repérage of stuff like I would like this or this or.
No,
it's
but I
supermarket
think
stuff.
like he's more looking to like he's following the artists he collects.
Mm.
So like then he goes there and sometimes he meets them on the art fair,
Mm.
and it's more like this.
And is he taking risks?
Maybe he
or-
also sees a new piece and then he buys
Mm.
a piece or stuff. But at the art fair there's also new works presented. So
Mm.
he's got, for example, a piece and then he wants to see the new piece. So there
Mm.
can be a show,
Yeah.
or it can be the Art Brussels.
Mm.
And of course, for a collector, it's interesting if the art is presented on the
Mm.
on the fair, because that's like lift up the price. Eh?
But then, as a collectioner, you really this kind of collectioner is really busy with money stuff, or is he really interested in it?
I actually, I've got no idea. Like it's a pity he isn't around tonight,
Yeah.
but I don't really think so.
Mm.
I think like he's really collecting what he likes, because when it's just my feeling, but when I look to his
It's quite coherent.
collection, it's very coherent. It's very different, but there is some coherence.
Mm.
So I do not have and it's not a famous artist. Okay,
Mm,
there's
mm.
one Hans op de Beek,
Mhm.
but even like this is falling a little out of the
Mm.
rest. There is some
Mm-mm.
I don't know,
No, that's true,
similarities,
that's
you know, with the black paintings
Yeah.
I've seen. So I see
Mm.
some taste, and so for me,
Mm.
I think, okay, like if you have an artist and he's like for 3 or 5 years with a gallery,
Yeah.
then it becomes interesting, and maybe then he starts like to also think about like to collect. But as far as I know, he's also got like a minimum and a max, or like a
Mm.
maximum of price,
Yeah.
and then you say, okay, like what can I afford?
Mm.
And this is like young emerging artists prices of them. So I
Mhm.
think the Hans op de Beek was also like a
30 euros.
lucky.
Sold.
50 euro. Sold 30.
So what I think, like to come back to your question, to if this is if art is not political enough, or like how it's presented.
We always say it needs to. You say go. You use the language of go wild or punch, or you have this expectation.
Yeah, no, but I think like there is
There's
okay.
this orgasmic moment.
No, not guessing, but I would call it like provoking.
Okay.
You know, like a little bit like provoking, but
I think
rarely
yeah,
saw.
I think
this is
what
like
I-
what I totally missed. For example, on the Art Brussels, there was no work at all, or like maybe two works that provoked me in a very interesting and very subtle way, so not punchy from the front or from the back, but like a real provocation, like then in the political meaning. Last year, for example, I've seen like Jürgen Klauke. He's like a performance artist from the 60s. And he made a photograph where he's standing naked with a mirror. So and his dick is on the one side, so just his hair comes out on the other side. So when it's mirrored, he becomes a woman. So the leg is mirrored and the body. And I saw this. I was just walking around and I saw this. Be like, wow! And it was really like, poof, and it was so. It really punched me, and it was such a clever, such a direct idea, and it was super political, of course, in these days, 60s, emancipation, political revolution, and blah. But I was like, and then I immediately went to the gallerist, and I had a talk with the gallerist about Klauke and blah blah, because I was just touched. I was touched, and I immediately, me personally, had to share it and talk. And this time it was okay. Of course, you can miss pieces, and they might have been there. But this, for example, is for me a good example of a strong work.
Well, I think
but he's also super famous.
I think for me it's important in general with the work. It's that it can change a bit your perspective, and and then the thematics what it talks about is for me not. I can always abstract the thematics. I mean, the most important thing is that that it brings me to some sort of way that I can change my perspective, and it can be intellectually, but it can also be emotionally, and in some sense that I experience something that I never experienced like that. Then it can be maybe more, let's say, emotionally, or it can be about a sort of topics that I had another idea of. But I think it's also what I really don't like, for example, and that is then in their political. Let's maybe go on to this, is that when political art goes into a sort of didactic way, that it's like, here I'm the smart artist and I want to tell you something, I know, I did a lot of research and this is my point of view and you should eat it. And then I'm like, I can eat it if there's in the medium itself also it's worked out. Otherwise I would say just write a text. But sometimes I'm a bit like I miss something as what should be called art, and instead of let's say instead of a text or.
But this also like brings you to the point like of our like all over topic like the mysticism or the mystification, and that you see a lot of works. Or me personally, which I actually do not understand. I mean, I understand them somehow, and I think I have an idea what the artist is busy with, but it's so cryptic, it's so mystified, that you actually totally lose the contact with the piece, or me personally. But if I look to the Klauke, it's super straightforward, you know, the performance piece, but I still don't, that doesn't mean that I totally get it. You know, for me personally, it stays extremely, it stays interesting, even if it's super straightforward. When there is like a contemporary trend or like contemporary things going on, when it's all super cryptified and you have to read the exhibition text, or like have to get an explanation from the curator or blah blah to understand this. But the piece itself is very hermetic to me personally.
Yeah, but
they can be beautiful, like a beautiful installation of all these artists are technically very, very good, no doubt about this, and it's a pleasure emotionally to look to the works. But like, then it sometimes ends too many times for me, and then it's a little like, okay, I don't want to be too harsh, but it becomes a little decorative. Then you know, because me personally, I can't
grab it.
I can't grab it anymore.
Well, it's interesting what you say about hermetic, because today I was thinking a bit about let's say artworks nowadays, and it can be any medium, it can be film, it can be sculpture, and what I was thinking was like a lot of artworks actually have a really first degree thing that they want to say. but what happens nowadays is like they put a sort of package around it to say like actually I want to say something really simple, but I put a package around it to make it a bit, I say it now really I would say really simply, but I put a package around it to give it some sort of body. And then I think like, no, then actually just say the simple thing instead of putting the package around it. Because if you then, just as a viewer, have to first unpack the work and then see the simple message, then just bring the simple message. And I was thinking, yeah, I see that a lot in works that there's like a sort of, and then this mysticism or that there's sort of like, and then it becomes hermetic, like, oh, I cannot read it because there are so layers, so much layers around.
Yeah.
If you're like, for
but
example,
it's super paradox because on the one hand, like on the first appearance, it's the opposite of hermetic because it appears very open. You see a piece, you can't, you don't know what it's about. It's very interesting. It's formally interesting. The material is interesting and stuff like this. And then you try to discover. So all this is like an emotionally very nice. I say, moments, like when you come to each other. But on the other hand, like you can never really enter the work. Like, and the opposite, to come back to the cloak, which I guess stays for me a good example, it's the opposite. It's super, super clear, but then, and you can immediately enter the work, but it still stays, it keeps its vibration. And this is what Mathieu says, why don't you say it the way you actually want to say it? I mean, don't be afraid of telling. I mean, if you have something to no, really, I think if you have something to tell it.
Yeah, it's something.
And do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like it's a cryptifying, it's a mystifying.
Don't make it in a sort of don't bring it to a sort of other discourse that you're not in the end busy with, and don't put an extra layer. It can be political, little extra layer, or a little poetic layer, or a little, I don't know. I don't like that. If you just want to communicate something simple, maybe that simple thing can be interesting. Or of course, if you have more to say, then you have more.
The problem is that those simple things you're thinking of, I don't know what they are, but I imagine
but it's the most difficult.
I don't think in 2014, given the way the world is run, in terms of consumerism and capitalism and all the show, all those messages have been used by XYZ multinational. The same thing that was so cool in the 60s, 70s, art or communication, marketing and communication industry just took it all. Like you have this chewing gum poster with a pixel drop. 3 months after someone, or a few years after someone made the movie with the idea of a pixel drop. That when you drop a pixel, the image is like fuck.
Yeah, but I don't.
But
yeah,
I don't think you can do that.
No, but it's just the other way around. What I say, what you say is now you turn it around. I just say, I see a lot of artworks that have maybe the same strategies as marketing, but put a package around and don't stand in front of the mirror and just say, actually, I don't have more to say than this. What you say, multinational marketing.
But I think
would I then think like?
But I think that's
sorry,
why it's happening.
Yeah.
But I think
yeah,
like
okay, but then it's
yeah.
really for me. Then it's for me more hypocrite or more or stop doing work or stop or get further.
But for me the point is as well like what happens a little bit is like they create kind of a distance to say, okay, this is art and this is something else. And the more cryptic, the more like hermetic or the more difficult and intellectualized it is to reach the core, the more we could call it art, because nobody else except those ones who are really busy with art can understand it. So it
probably
really like
sells also. Probably that's what sells.
That's what sells, yeah, because people want to be. I don't want to speak for like I'm not somebody who's then collecting art or whatever. But what keeps the people interested I mean, is it like then the mystification what keeps the people interested to say, okay, I don't understand, even I get an explanation, it stays, so I can't really get into the work. But for me, okay, it's a point of taste, and like you say, I think it's a good point. It was a different time, but there has been a clearer language, and there has also been like a much more clear language in politics. If you listen to political debates nowadays, it's all diplomatic. It's no clear language at all anymore, and this is it's all postponed. It's postponed. So you see work, and it's postponed to the text or to the explanation of somebody else who is around, and then give you like the information you need to understand the work. Like if you look at politics, they say something, but it's postponed to the next meeting. Then you get clarification of what it's about.
Yeah, but it's the same. I mean, I think that that's why maybe what could be interesting is artwork that manages to really be different than the system, which is what you're describing. Everybody's doing the same thing because there's a system we're functioning in.
But for me personally, I think it's very interesting to search for those works or those artists who go the other way around and speak a clear language, because I think this is the only answer to which is needed is again a clear language.
Yeah, I think as
because
well,
we have a mouse, we have the tools.
On that I completely follow, because I think it's really the moment now to just step into the system instead of walking away and do something different. I don't want to do this. I don't want to have this as a sort of attack to what you were saying, but it's just a bit like we should more step into the system and talk about the system if there would be, let's say naively, if we could make a change, because always doing something different nowadays I don't think is not on this very point is the answer. I think there's already so much happening and so much evolving medium wise that we need time to step into it.
I remember myself, like there was like 1.5 or 2 years ago, there was like the huge demonstration, like Betoging, in Brussels, when they went on the street because it was 550 days or something, like Belgium without any government, and they just called it the shame demonstration. And I totally did not get the point. Of course, I intellectually got the point why they call it the shame demonstration, but essentially I didn't get the method and the technique they use is for me the totally wrong way to deal with it. I mean, to say, okay, we shame, but what's your opinion? I mean, you can't change anything if you have not a position and a clear, if you don't use your voice and say, this is what we want. If you say, okay, I shame, but I'm not the solution, the other ones should gonna be the solution. This leads to a total coma, I guess.
What was it, this thing?
Okay, the idea was like that 30,000 or 50,000 people, I don't know how many, went onto the streets, but they didn't proclaim a certain, they didn't provide a solution, how it should be solved and what's going to happen, because they were still negotiating, all the politicians, but they just said, okay, we go on the streets because we shame ourselves for this status quo. So it's kind of like making a statement.
They just went outside.
Pretty performative. They just went outside, and everybody was dressed in white, I guess. And that's it.
Okay.
And like intellectually, of course, I can follow. Like I think it's also a beautiful idea to say, okay, like we just demonstrate that we can't see it anymore, but you have to find the solution. But on the other hand, like it's a thing. I'm frightened that it is because like the people don't have the idea how to find the solution and how to get out of the misery. This is like you know, they say okay, it's up to you, it's up to you, it's up to you. So this is like
it's quite Belgium. It's up to you. It's quite Belgium, I think.
I think it's
maybe it's also Belgium.
Okay. That's true.
It's not about Belgium. It's also Dutch.
But the whole like to come back to the art, I think like there's
also Dutch.
I don't know so much.
Probably French.
So much Dutch.
There's a lot.
French.
There's
French, no.
Probably North Italian, German,
No.
and Scandinavian.
French, no.
It's It's up to you in politics now.
But the Belgian, the
François
French
Hollande?
always go out to the street, like
But yeah, we're always
demonstrating every second week.
demonstrating and
But there is so much meta level happening in the arts, which is almost like I don't know where this leads to. I don't know.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Wow, that was a good 50 minutes, boys
Eh.
and girls.
Alrighty. But
Okay, cut.
I think we said some